This video is going to be on how do we solve percent problems using equations. So we already learned how to do it with proportions. Today we're going to do with equations. Okay, so let's go ahead and look. When we set up an equation, guys, this is always going to be our setup. It's going to be the percent as a decimal times what we're trying to find the percent what we're trying to find the percent of is going to equal the is or the part or the whatever you want to call it. Let me take off the parentheses because I don't want you to think that we're multiplying. We're just, so in other words, the is or the part. Okay, so if you look at this bottom, guys, it says what percent of 25 is 5. So do we know the percent? No, we don't. So we're just going to say, okay, percent. We don't know what it is. Okay, so we don't know what the percent is. Therefore, that's where my n is, or my question mark, or my variable. And I know the is. What is? And remember in the formula we said the is goes over here. So 5 is what percent of, and here's my of right here. So of would be 25. And then I just ask myself, well, something times 25 is giving me 5. Therefore, the only way to get that is if you have some sort of fraction, right? So if I divide both sides by 25, I would be getting 5 over 25. And if I simplify that, that would be, if I divide by 5, I would be getting 1/5. And we know that that percent, 1/5, the percent is 0.20, or in other words, 20%. So 5 is 20% of 25. Let's go ahead and look at this next example. It says finding a part, what is 20% of 25? So I know my of is 25. Okay, and I want to find the percent. Now they have a weird setup here. I actually don't want you to set it up this way. I want us to set it up the way that we had said. So percent times the of equals the is, and then we'll figure out how to set up that second way that they had. Okay, so the percent, we know that. Remember, it's a decimal though, so it would be 0.20. I am multiplying by the of. The of would be 25, and I want to know the is. Okay, so how are we going to set this up? We're going to replace this. Go ahead and write that, guys. This is going to be the is, and we're going to be doing 0.20 times 25. And so our answer is our answer would be 5. So 5 is 20% of 25. Let's go ahead and look at the next example. 20% of what is 5? Remember that we have percent as a decimal times the of is equal the is. Therefore, right now we have the percent decimal would be 0.20 of what? We don't know of, so it'd be times something is giving me the is, which in this case is, sorry, I should have written the actual number, so it would be 5. So if I set that up, it'd be 0.20 times n, so the unknown is equal to 5. And to solve that, I'm going to be dividing. So if I divide both sides by 0.2, I would be getting the correct answer. And so the correct answer ends up being 25. So 20% of 25 is 5. Let's go ahead and look at a word problem, because those are the ones that get a little bit tricky. In this word problem, it says that in a school election, one candidate received 81 votes. And then it says this is 18% of the votes counted. 18% of votes counted. So they say how many votes were counted. So remember that we have when we have the is and of and all that, we don't know the of. That's what we're trying to find. And we do know the percent. That's why that goes here, 18%. And the is right here, which is 81. Therefore, if you write it as an equation, this would be 0.18 times question mark or times n is equal to 81. Okay, they want us to rewrite it, so I'm going to say 0.18 with the variable times n equals 81. We're going to be dividing each side by 0.18. How did I get that? Well, we want to get rid of what's in front of this n. Remember that when we're doing this with an algebra, anything next to a variable is multiplying. So if I divide by 0.18 both sides, I'm going to be getting the answer. So 81 divided by 0.18 gives me 450. So 450 votes were counted. So the correct answer choice would be letter C. So I'm going to put C. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the next example. Another word problem. It says, in my science class, 32% went to the science fair. There's 40 students in my science class. How many went? So again, we don't know what. We just know something is 32% of 40. Okay, so let's say that n is the number, and let's set up our equation. I'm gonna skip this part right now. I'm gonna do it over here first. I'm gonna put percent as a decimal times the of equals the is, and that should be a C, sorry. So if I set that up like that, I know the percent is 0.32. I know of because I know my total. Remember, of is the total. My total right now is 40 students. What I don't know is the is, so that's going to be my question mark. Okay, so if I set this up, I'm saying that the is, or the number, is equal to 0.32 times 40. And if I do that, I get my answer to be 12.8. Now obviously, if this was a STAR test, they wouldn't this wouldn't be the final answer because you can't have 12.8 of a person, so you would say about or approximately 13 people. Okay, so to finish off, let's look at example 3. In example 3, it tells us that we have of, so the total is 257 sandwiches that were sold. 45 were turkey, and they want to know what percent were turkey. Okay, so remember that this is going to be the percent as a decimal times the of equals the is. Now, do we know the of? Yes, we do. It's right there. So my of is 257. Okay, and I don't know the percent, so that's a question mark. And I know the is. How much was it? It was 45 turkey sandwiches. So it says about 50. So here they're going to make us estimate, okay? They're rounding 45 to 50 and 257 to 250 just to get an estimate. You can do this when we have difficult numbers, if there's a multiple choice, but if it's fill in the blank, guys, or those bubble in, you can't, if you round, you won't get the exact answer. So let's go ahead and see how will we do this. So here they're setting up kind of like a simplification. So they're saying first, okay, I know that 45 out of 257, and I'm rounding this to 50, out of 250, and we want to know the percent. Now, why are they doing this? The reason they're doing that, guys, all they're doing is they're switching this formula. I don't want you to do that. You can keep it like this. Just use the estimations would be 250 is equal to 50. Okay, so I'm going to say the percent, or P, times 250 is giving me 50. Okay, and if you notice at the bottom, they are continuing with the correct numbers. So this would be P times 257 is equal to 45. Okay, so this is 275p equals 45. If I divide both sides by 257, So I divide by 257, I'm going to get my answer. So I do 45 divided by 257. That would give me about 0.18. And if I round that, that's about 18%. Now to check if this is kind of where it should be, let's go back to here. Okay, let's fill in with an approximation. So 50 over 250. If I cross out the 0 and divide each by 5, that's about 1/5. 1/5, you should know what that is as a decimal, guys. That is about 0.2. So this would be about 20%. Is my answer close to this? Yes, it is. 18% is close to the estimate of 20, so I know that my answer is correct. And if you are still having a little bit of trouble, go ahead and look at these examples, guys. It's the same thing. They set it up percent as a decimal times the number of, and it gives you the is. You divide, get an answer. Same thing here, 32% of 40. So we multiply the number by, it would be 0.32 times the number of is equal to the is. And so here's this part. And then the last example is the same thing. So you have those if you were having a little bit more trouble.